The Chuck E. Cheese is gone. So, in a show of solidarity with the people, oppressed people across this nation and across this world, Chuck E. Cheese has stepped up, admitted that they're pro-cop. They've canceled themselves. Chuck E. Cheese gone, bankrupt, gone away forever. Take it away, Chuck.
CEC Entertainment filing for Chapter 11 as the pandemic has really rocked business. Of course, CEC is the parent company of the iconic Chuck E. Cheese and Peter Piper Pizza, and about 1/3 of its 700 locations have reopened. Last quarter, same-store sales fell by 22%, but CEC says it's not throwing in the towel. It'll use Chapter 11 to restructure its balance sheet and support reopening efforts and long-term strategy. PE firm Apollo Global Management bought the company, taking it private about 6 years ago. Chuck E. Cheese is not a traditional casual name, as it does have the entertainment aspect of the business, more like a Dave & Buster's, which could potentially be in trouble as well. But it's notably the first big restaurant name to declare bankruptcy in the pandemic. Of course, we've seen major retailers like J. Crew and JCPenney leading the pack on that. Kelly, back over to you.
You know, it's not surprising because obviously Chuck E. Cheese's feels like it's been out of date for quite some time. The locations I know around us are, not the best, but Dave & Buster's felt like it was the up and comer. I mean, it had that great real estate. For years, it was a great stock. But maybe they still face the same headwinds if we're going to be looking at an environment like this for quite some time.
That's right. RJ Hottovy of Morningstar says the more experiential you are, like a Chuck E. Cheese or a Dave & Buster's, the more at risk you could be. He does note Dave & Buster's got a $100 million cash infusion back in May, so they do have a bit of a lifeline. Two other names that he did mention, though, Dine Global and also Red Robin Gourmet Burgers. But casual in general, Kelly, has been struggling for some time, and the pandemic could really be the nail in the coffin for a lot of these companies.
Yeah, but such a reversal. Experiential was the way of the future, not anymore, at least for now. Kate, thanks so much. Kate.
Listen, I want y'all to know,
all right.
If you don't appreciate our history, you can get out.
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
This is heritage right here.
Hell no, man.
And if you don't support America, you can get out.
Listen,
Right.
Chuck E. Cheese, they're bad. I feel like Chuck E. Cheese, they've got a lot of bacon on their pizzas. It's also a place where just specifically designed to get fucking COVID at. I don't know why you're taking your children to Chuck E. Cheese. A bunch of kids.
Wait, are people taking their children to Chuck E. Cheese?
They're all happy. They're all fucking screaming, pizza, video game, animatronic. So, they're just spreading the disgustingness all over each other. It's no good. It's no good. We have Anthony from Big Brain Chungus here.
Yes. Hey, welcome everyone. How's it going? I'm glad to be a part of the show.
What the fuck is a Big Brain Chungus? You got to explain that before we will allow you to have any takes on that.
Oh no. You see, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys because I have a pre-written script I have to say, but I'm gonna throw it out here and just give you a real talk. So, okay, I'm going to be honest.
I feel like he's definitely reading off a script right now. I feel like that was part of the script.
I am very concerned about what are we going to do?
I'm like, let me trick these socialists that I'm one of them. Haha, let me keep reading the script. So I saw Big Chungus and I just liked it. It was literally I just saw the Bugs Bunny. I don't know anything behind it. I just picked it. And I also saw a meme about a fat cat that was oh, he thick. And I was like, I want that. But part of me is a little scared. I'm really frightened that Big Brain Chungus is going to be turns out, white supremacists have been using Big Brain Chungus as a symbol to identify to each other. So I'm quite scared. I hope it's not some type of hate symbol.
How long have you been in the podcast game?
So I've been in the game for a while, but releasing publicly for.
Are you making your own private podcasts?
Yes.
Internal podcasts.
Okay.
We used to record our own podcasts, sip wine in a nice, cold, dank basement, and listen to our own voices and our own conversations. And I'd laugh at my own jokes too.
Ooh.
Yeah, that sounds like lots of guys have podcast material. How long have you been releasing podcasts, casting the podcasts, which is a vital part of the podcast thing?
So I've been doing it for about 5 weeks. I have 2 other partners or friends or colleagues or whatever you want to call them. They do work with me. Yeah, little chungies. My other 2 little chungies couldn't come here. And basically, I'm essentially a neoliberal. Like, I've always been like a neoliberal, but I've always flirted with socialism. And I would say after the coronavirus crisis, like, just 3 days ago, I signed up to being a paying member of the Democratic Socialists of America. So, like, that's like how, like, I'm pretty, like, upset. I'm pretty mad.
We'll let Ennio live onto the show. We don't really care. It's fine. As long as you have at least one fan and one take, you're good to go. Who's the banana guy? We're both all clicking and jamming this comment trying to bring it up.
There's like 5 people clicking this comment at the same time right now.
Yes. Who is the banana guy? Can we zoom in? There's someone on our podcast that's wearing a banana suit. What's his deal? What are they doing?
Why don't you tell us?
Do I have to have a reason for everything? Jeez, y'all are really uptight around here.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, listen. Sometimes you want to wear a banana, and that's fine. Stand bananity.
Listen,
you gotta do it.
And Bananity, we do have some news about Bananity, though. We are instating a new rule. After today, Bananity will only be making appearances when we get new patrons on Patreon. So, if you love Bananity, as we all do, please, for the love of God, become a patron at patreon.com/notsafe.
And there will be
That's
more
right.
Bananity. Bananity also might make some special appearances on other occasions. In fact, I'm planning to do that debate with the Italian fascist in the banana suit. For those unaware.
You're doing a debate with an Italian fascist tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning at 10 Eastern. It's really early, but the video will be up after. Like, that's when it's live.
Yeah. We're gonna try to get up and see that for ourselves. It's gonna be rough. You're gonna need a full night of sleep.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna be like half awake and just like yelling, and I don't know. But I got invited to go on this other show where they have people on the far left and people on the far right debate, and I wasn't sure about it entirely, but at some point I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it." And so I'm debating a literal Italian fascist tomorrow.
When you say literal Italian fascist, like
he's
I just
like a Salvini guy.
I was wondering if you could clarify on that because to me, when I hear literal Italian fascist, I have like a range of like, okay, he might be like the pizza dude that like refuses to give you the extra piece of pepperoni like at the local pizzeria, or he might be like literally Robo Mussolini coming in like, I'm gonna make the trains run on time and kill minorities.
Yeah, no, he's like a literal Salvini supporter that lives in Italy. So like,
but also a banana.
Now that's me. I'm the banana.
I feel like banana suit is the appropriate amount of gravity to bring to the table when you're debating somebody who's openly a fascist. Like, they don't deserve seriousness. They don't deserve respect. Like, their entire philosophy is based around hurting people for personal gain. Why would you not dress as a banana for that? Like, I don't know. They don't deserve better.
Rachel,
if you pull up anything other than drunk, I'll be disappointed.
Rachel, have you ever dressed up as a sexy piece of fruit?
No, but it is like on the docket, honestly.
If enough of us
been looking at me for a couple days, she's like, "Damn, how do I get on that level?"
I know I can get on Kennedy's level, but
let's have a 3-minute Cardi B discourse. Cardi B, bad? There's nothing new. There's no new developments. Twitter just likes to have a so-and-so is over party like every
day.
4 or 5, really every 3 or 4, every day really. But they trend like every 3 or 4 days. They just pick a random name out of a hat, and it's like they're canceled now. Has this ever worked?
No.
I feel like
Oh wait, do you mean for Cardi B, or has it worked against anyone?
Well,
'Cause I feel like
Cardi B,
someone's been canceled before, right?
all right, who's been canceled via like Twitter with like the K-pop fan cams, like with too many fan cams.
But it never works because the K-pop people spam their fan cams in the tag, and then you can't actually figure out why this person is being canceled in the first place. It's like, if I can't find this information, I'm gonna stop scrolling.
I was literally. Sorry, go ahead. I feel that too. I just want to say, like,
No, I just wanted to say too, like, I was trying to figure out, like, I'm looking at the hashtag this morning for the Cardi B is over party, and I'm like trying to figure out why is she canceled, and there's so many just like tweets with like K-pop gifs that are just like meaningless statements, and I'm like, none of this tells me why y'all are mad or not mad or what's even going on.
It's like if you post a K-pop fan cam and your caption is like, this is why you should stan X K-pop group, and if I'm scrolling and I can't find the information I'm looking for in like 10 seconds, I'm going to stop clicking on the hashtag, and I just won't care about like why you canceled this person. So it's not worth it. Like, it's not.
Twitter outrage machine needs posting discipline.
It really does. It really does. I think that there's just an alliance of like corny white guys and Nicki Minaj fans, and they all team up like once every 3 months to be mad at Cardi B for some reason.
Nicki Minaj, famously never problematic even one time.
Correct. Famously never once. It happens. So there's other news that's happening. There are real victories being achieved for social justice, not just in America, but worldwide. And I want to really bring some focus to one of those big victories. A corny cartoon that nobody watches will now have a slightly different voice actor. Play the video, producers. Okay,
maybe this is a dumb question, but Jenny Slate looks Jewish. Is she Jewish?
Yeah, she's Jewish.
Okay, so like as the foremost
Jewish people are allowed to play black people. Boom. There you go. Problem solved.
all right. Next topic. Perfect.
As the most Jewish member of the pod, let me just say,
Hey.
Jew fight.
let me just say, listen, it sucks to be Jewish. It does not suck the way it does to be black. And I actually broadly agree with her. I think what she was doing was a good thing. It was an act of solidarity, especially like between the black and Jewish communities. We have a surprisingly large amount in common. And the fact that, more and more people are genuinely trying to make space for black people is good, actually. I know that's like really unpopular on this show in particular.
Yeah, YouTube is going wild with like Snowflake celebrate another victory. But like, I don't care about Big Mouth. I don't know. Are there any black people that watch Big Mouth to be harmed by the problematic? I've never met a black person that watched Big Mouth. No,
if you're a black Big Mouth fan, come on the show.
If you're a black Big Mouth fan, come on the show and like, or just leave a comment and we'll put it on the screen.
Yeah.
Like, what about the police? We're all supposed to be. Jenny, donate some money to fucking abolish the police. We don't care about the damn.
And also, like, Big Mouth is on its 3rd season. Like, it has 3 seasons. Like, you should have figured this out, that it was a bad idea before you made 3 seasons of a show.
Netflix.
I don't think it's ever like too late to.
No, of course not. But
come back and say like, hey, I realized I'm taking a job from a black person by being here. I should not do that.
Actually, I think season 3 of a Netflix show is too late because the show's probably going to get canceled right now anyway. Like,
it should have gotten canceled after like the 1st episode. It's so bad.
I've honestly never watched it. I don't know, but I appreciate her gesture.
I hate watching it. So I do.
As a mother to a beautiful black son named Brandon, I am really grateful to her for making space for the people of my favorite child, Brandon, who I adopted.
Anthony, do you have any big mouth emotions?
Oh yeah. Trust me, I have a big. It's your show, so I don't want to talk too much.
Wait, no, this
what?
is your
No.
you're the guest. You gotta demand
trust
space.
me, I've got a
Rachel is
big
taking
fucking
up
mouth.
space that could be given to marginalized podcasters, which you are one right now. So, yeah,
I've got
talk
a
about
real.
Big Mouth.
I've got a real hot take here. I think I'm really sad here that they're making changes to Big Mouth because I feel like Big Mouth has done such a great work for the community of young middle schoolers, 12-year-olds trying to find a way to jerk it off without having to sign and lie and try to get pass through those "Are you 18" signs.
Is there like sexual stuff in Big Mouth? That
Yeah, it's very.
You
It's
should
actually
give it a
kind of
try.
a creepy show. I just want to say, for the record, like it's kind of a creepy show because it's a show about like kids in school being really fucking sexual. Like,
Middle
Wait,
schoolers.
is it like Family Guy?
I
Except
was like,
like,
did Seth MacFarlane come up with this? Like,
No. It's like a deep. Okay, so to be honest, it's like a deep dive into like puberty and sex. And I actually think personally, I like the show, and I think it teaches a lot of great things for young kids. Because
It's not made for young kids. It's made for adults, and that's what makes it creepy.
True, you're 100% right. But Family Guy and Futurama were also made for adults, and so was South Park. And I watched those all the time with all my friends when I was in elementary school.
is Big Mouth as good as early Family Guy?
I would
Like,
say
what's the quality.
so. I would say I personally like Nick Kroll. That's one of the guys that made the show. So I like his humor, but I personally like it because I think we need more positive things about sex and puberty. Because I personally think a lot of like for example, kids growing up, a lot of the way they're learning about sex and consent is not from a book or a movie, it's from porn. Like young boys are learning about consent and how to treat a woman. Like my first experiences of like, oh, what do I do when I'm about to have sex is like, let me Google like backdoor sluts 9. Like, let me see how to treat my crush in a, you know, like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. You're just supposed to ram your penis in her throat without asking. Like, oh, cool. Right, let me take notes. So that's my philosophy is I feel like Big Mouth does a pretty good job. It does a better job than the current education for sex because it definitely depends on what state you're coming from. But if you're like in Kentucky or West Virginia, they might be like, just don't have sex easy until you're married.
I've never watched Big Mouth, so I can't provide a statement of how they compare to Southern sex ed. It's probably better just by virtue of a human being that graduated from college writing it.
I'm sorry, guys. I was just drinking a drink, and you said Southern sex ed, and I just spit water all over my screen, my computer.
As a person who
Southern sex ed is the
pretty
name of my new
comprehensive.
podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Kennedy. The
Like-
banana suit is back. The banana suit is back, Jack. I'm thinking it's back. People are asking me all the time if the banana suit is back, and I'm thinking it's back. This is what drives conservatives. Immigration is good. The more Latino birth rate goes higher, the more that we can politically replace regressive personalities, both in the media and in the general population. Go
Yes,
immigration.
because as we know, immigrants are never ever reactionary or conservative. In
Of
any
course not. No, they are a hive mind that we control and is in
Mhm.
perfect alliance with us. And it's good to hear we love it and we love them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So from that, do you guys want to talk a little bit about the Dixie Chicks? I feel like we've extinguished Big Mouth discourse.
I have not cared about the Dixie Chicks since before they spoke out against 9/11 and got canceled before that was a thing. So whatever. They
I'm
exist.
kinda-
They did that okay cover of Landslide. That's like all I know about them.
I'm kind of curious why they didn't change their name back when they got canceled by conservatives originally. Just throwing that out there.
In 2001, y'all.
Like,
They could have been ahead of the curve. Here's the thing. This is the most news the Dixie Chicks have made since 2001. I understand them changing their name because, I mean, this is the most news they'll ever make as a group.
and the name is bad, to be fair. So, you know.
I don't get it. I don't
care.
understand. What reasons have they given for changing the name? Let's start there.
I
Why?
think that they're well. I think it's in the video, but I think they've decided that Dixie is problematic. Like 300 years after the Civil War.
So on one hand, everyone has this platform where they can say whatever they want to say, but on the other hand, this platform can move really quickly and ruin people's lives. I feel proud that I spoke up and that I, exercised my right to free speech. And I think it's very scary that so much of the country criticized me for doing that. It's like you just.
I don't know. The second Gaslighter came on screen, Brandon started cackling. Like literally the exact moment the word Gaslighter showed up on screen, Brandon lost his fucking mind.
Oh my god.
Doing sexism. I am oppressed. Brandon, I birthed you. You should be nicer to me.
Ellen is on the beating pulse of what is news today. I had this pre-written, and I think it stands. I don't care what your name is. You are.
So the video showed like Us Weekly like citing Twitter users for calling on the Dixie Chicks to change their name, but they didn't cite actual Twitter. Like it seems very made up to me. Like who gives a crap about the Dixie Chicks enough to ask them on Twitter publicly to change their name?
There's like 5 middle-aged women who,
Yeah.
What they didn't tell us is that they actually showed every single tweet requesting.
Yeah, basically. And listen, the Dixie Chicks, they're on Twitter. They're not doing they're not making music.
I will say, like, credit where it is due. Like, speaking out against the Iraq War at that point in history was genuinely a brave thing to do. And, like, I could give a fuck about their music. I don't really care about them as a band. But I do think that there is a meaningful extent to which they really were vindicated by history. And if they want to, like, follow that up by, like, making this... Yeah, sure. It's like this gesture of solidarity, like whatever. I don't know. Like it's meaningless to me unless they put like actual like on the ground work into solving these problems. Like, and if it's just a meaningless, empty signifier of like racial justice, I don't really give a fuck.
It's fine. Like
I just want to know why it took so long.
Honestly,
you were canceled by conservatives in 2001. I just got to reiterate that. Anthony, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I'm super cynical, and just like a little bit of experience with working with like people in business. The thing you have to understand is whenever people, I think we have a misunderstanding of what these music groups and stuff, why they do things, because we imagine them like ourselves. Like you maybe created a band, you're like, oh, maybe there's a bad name. Let me like post on Twitter and tell people like, oh, I'm changing the name. But that's not what happens. They have an entire organization. They have staff. They have people hired. There was a team that said, oh, this would be a good time to restart the album. Like they were on a talk show. So that tells you that they had to reach out to that talk show, schedule a spot, talk to some producers. There was all this work and effort that went into them changing their name. So like something about that tells me that they were doing it as like, I'm guaranteed there were some producers like, oh yeah, this would be a good time for the second coming of Dixie Chicks.
And look, just like, let's all be honest. This whole thing is organized around the fact that it's 20% less awkward to do a remix with Lil Nas X if you don't have the word Dixie in your name. That's it. Like,
But
it's not like we're making any kind of big, serious.
the most frustrating thing is the name sucks. The Chicks is not like
It's
the
not
Dixie
good.
Chicks. Like the problem with the Dixie Chicks is it kind of sounds like a good name, like phonetically saying it. If you are catching my drift, like I'm not saying Dixie is great, but like
Right.
to have like da instead of saying like the Chicks when they should put
Yeah,
something else
it's
in
not.
there, like the Southern Chicks.
not a good-
like that would work.
No, it's
Maybe
not a
not.
good name, but they're already famous, so it doesn't really matter whether their name is good or not
Hmm.
at this stage. We've apparently been called out on Twitter for ableism in gifted children. I don't know what that. I don't know what that is or what that means. What
Shame
do
on
we
you.
do? Rachel?
Apparently, this is breaking news. Apparently, wonks implies gifted children, and since we're not safe for them, we're doing oppression on smart people.
Everything doesn't have to be safe for everybody. Listen, it's not safe. I thought we were the safe space, but we're not. We should start a spin-off podcast called The Safe Space if there hasn't been one already.
Would we talk about nothing?
Yeah.
Would we talk about like bread?
Dude, there are a lot of podcasts that are exactly like that. We literally listen to one where they're just grilling.
They're just grilling. Yeah.
Grilling.
Like grilling, like they're like, listen to that sizzle.
They literally like. I wish that you were like being satirical of this podcast.
You're not.
that we're-
Yeah.
Is that like an ASMR thing? Like,
No,
They were just bored.
Nope,
They
it
were
was
just like, we're
grilling.
making chicken. I put pepper on it.
we're really off track now. But yeah, like if you go listen to the first episode of Lots of Guys Have Podcasts these days, which by the way, you can go to patreon.com/notsafe. You do not have to be a patron because that show comes out after 2 weeks. It's for patrons only for the first 2 weeks, and then it comes out. So
Right.
you can go listen to like the first 2 episodes or something like that. If you go listen to the first episode, we listened to this terrible podcast called The Tika Show, and they literally just want to grill. They just want to grill. That's the show.
Not safe for wonks is literally in the name. If you are offended, change the channel. I love
A good
Dr.
take.
Kamar, you usually have horrible takes in our comments. I usually ignore most of your comments, but that you're getting based. I like the power levels in that one.
Guys, I'm scared to ask up. What's a wonk?
Oh, we don't know.
No one knows what a wonk is.
It's like,
made-up- it's a made-up word. It's like
I
a
thought it was
Dr. Seuss.
I thought I was gonna have to
Anything.
refer to my red book real quick.
it's like Poindexter, but for politics.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's when
Conservatives
your
want to cancel
pedantic
Cardi B.
nerd talks about
You know,
in political capital. If you've ever used the word political capital unironically, you're being a wonk.
Oh god, I'm a wonk. Fuck. Oh no.
and salute to you and the Dixie Chicks, both going into places where you're not safe, but standing strong,
That's right.
standing firm. We appreciate that. Anthony, any more comments on the Dixie Chicks?
I wish them the best. I hope they do have a great music career. Maybe they'll sing about stuff like unrelated, like, you know, getting drunk in the club or something. You know, they can make some good music. Hopefully.
I guess. I hope so. Fair and Lovely is changing their name. It's a whitening cream. Whitening cream, extra problematic. What the theme of this show is that society is working on every problem except the police. Any kind of weird neoliberal wonky gesture that can be made that doesn't really cost anybody any money, or do anything systemic to change society, you can have all that shit for free. They don't care. So this is like the equivalent of all these corporations doing Pride Month. It's just gesturing. And
What are they going to change their name to that's not offensive but still conveys this is a whitening cream?
It's like trying to rename Auschwitz. We're like, this is, you know, not very fun for Jewish people. Let's give it a nice name. Like
they're going to call.
Fun Palace.
I actually have this. I actually have this information. They're going to change the name of the cream to Lovely Chicks.
They're changing the name to Dixie Chicks. Nice. They did a swap.
Changing their name to
The name Dixie Chicks is now available, and they're taking
They're
it.
taking it.
They scooped that
Dixie
copyright
Chicks
up.
whitening cream.
They jumped on it the second they saw the tweet.
Yeah, they said the domain name's open and everything. Let's get in here. Let's run this short ad so that Rachel can smoke.
So to be clear, they're changing the name, but they're not pulling the products that exist exclusively for the purpose of making people white.
No.
Cool. So we're
This
gonna
isn't
call
even,
it
like,
instead.
white makeup. It's melanin suppression. Like it's literally like stop
Yeah.
your body from being normal. Be whiter and less fucking alive.
My favorite part is the part where they said that white implies like an unrealistic standard of beauty. Like, what? No, white is just, it's literally a blank slate, my dudes. You can just not make the products.
Oh god. Honestly, we're living in like The Onion. Like, you know, The Onion, like that our reality is become a parody of itself where
Yeah.
like it's just all fake bullshit maneuvers that cost nothing. It's like if they decided to reform slavery and we're like, we're going to change the names. We're going to call it friendly Black Buddy time, and we're going to change the name of whips to friendly tickle chasers. It's like, oh wow, but are you gonna do anything to free them or improve their life? No, definitely not. Definitely, we're gonna change the name though in solidarity, and then they'll post like a Black Lives Matter fist up.
I mean, unironically, that's literally what happened. Hashtag the fucking prison industrial complex.
That literally is it, and it's literally correct. So, slavery to be rebranded as Black Friend Tickle Time in all Texas school books.
It's like the war of northern aggression.
Texas is renaming itself the Dixie Chicks.
Hell no.
The thing is, you know, when people use words like slavery, they're, you know, referencing the inherent superiority of white people. And we really just got to move away from that branding so that people no longer think of slavery as something that's good and powerful, but instead recognize that, you know, white people being inherently superior is a bad thing.
And yeah, these are used all around the world. Colorism is like a serious issue. We are using it for laughs, but yeah, got to work on that. Rhode Island is also changing their name. Their official state name has been Rhode Island and Providence Plantations.
But now it's going to be the Dixie
You're
Chicks.
kidding.
They're now changing their name to the Dixie Chicks.
The problem is
Rhode Island and the Chicks.
all of this has the exact same energy as Nancy Pelosi wearing kente cloth. Like,
that's right.
Yes. It is the most superficial gesture towards anti-racism that you could possibly make. They have no interest in changing the systems themselves. They don't give a fuck about Black people or brown people or anything other than their profits. And the cynicism of it is just like...
It's incredible. It's revolting.
Can I just say, if anybody's out there watching and has that meme of Nancy Pelosi with the lip plate, God, I've been trying to find that. It is the funniest meme I've ever seen. Please post it, please.
I literally just posted Black Friend Tickle Time, and that was tough even for me, man. That's
you gotta see it. It's so good. Woo. It's the best meme.
That is wild. That is wild.
So I think we can all agree that our leaders, if you can call them that, have completely failed us. There is no hope so long as capitalism exists for things to get better. And the only answer we have is to just overthrow it.
Anthony, what are your feelings about this week's gestures? Are there any important ones that we missed?
Important this week's gestures. So I was listening to someone that I really like listening to, and they talked about a sports team where the leader of the sports team or the coach or whatever was wearing a shirt, the OAN network, and he's a big Trump supporter, and these are sports teams, so I'm sure you're aware most sports teams, or many of them, are predominantly Black Americans in them, and he's like, man, it feels great to finally have someone talking like real and speaking their mind on the OAN network. And just like, if you don't know what the OAN network is, this is the network that Trump tweeted out saying Fox News is fake news now. They're not good enough. Time to listen to the OAN network. So, like, for that coach to like say all that, and then some of his Black players to be like, "Nah, I'm not working for that man." For him to just be like, so tone deaf and not realize like what's going on. I think that's like a pretty clear example of what's going on in this country. There's a bunch of people who have absolutely no fucking clue what's going on right now. That's my hot take.
Imagine if BLM was a massive pride protest. They would make changes. Well, I don't know if we've made any changes right now that are like really important changes. I guess it would depend on what's being asked. Would they defund the cops for gay people? Absolutely not.
No.
No, there's no money move. But if you want like a parade, then yes. If the gay people are marching demanding they hold a new parade for them, then yes, they will get that instantly.
Yeah, but pride doesn't accomplish anything. It's
It's
just
also worth mentioning that pride has been at this point thoroughly co-opted, right? Like originally, back in the bad old times, there actually was meaningful solidarity between the queer and Black liberation movement. But as is the case, with all things in our society and in the history of the United States, inevitably those two movements were alienated from each other, right? And so, like, you hear these, like, ridiculous ideas that, like, the United States is trying to turn Black men gay to destroy the Black community or whatever. And, I mean, all of that comes from this central place of trying to prevent solidarity. And all of that comes from the inherent utility of keeping our groups, especially groups that should be, naturally aligned with each other, on the left at each other's throats.
Correct.
Yeah, pride is, this changes the entire conversation, but pride is, like, just a completely
the first pride was a riot.
Yeah.
Back to those roots is my official take.
Literally, Delta will let you go to Pride like on your work, on your job time. They don't care. But of course, they're not being asked to do anything. They're just being asked to like wave a flag. That's easy. Like
I would say, based on the fact that in 2020 it was a split decision by the Supreme Court, meaning it was controversial, 6-3. Just saying, okay, you can't fire people for being gay. Like, that just happened now. So I think just like that happening right now, and not, it passed and everyone was in agreement. It's like, no, it passed and there were people arguing tooth and nail saying this is wrong. It kind of gives you like an idea of like, oh, okay, that's where we're at. Dope. Okay.
And people do kind of forget, I think, because if you are, white, able-bodied, male, and gay, nobody cares anymore, that, like, there actually is meaningful oppression of queer people, especially of trans people, and that actually this is a struggle that is very much alive, that we should be continuing to fight, and we should continue to have solidarity for and with. But nobody really cares about that aspect of it because, again, that requires some kind of material change, which nobody wants. Why is there a drunk Garfield?
Always.
I have questions.
I'm just imagining Garfield just strongly celebrating and agreeing with your great points. I don't know. Just people love Garfield. Just put him on.
We all empathize with him.
Yeah.
Right. Garfield is something that the right can't take away from us because he's anti-work, and they'll never accept that. We're gonna wrap this up shortly because we have another busy day of recording. It's just like the last few days. It's crazy. We're recording with something with Lauren Ashcraft coming up in just a little bit, though, which is very exciting. We got a lot of other stuff going on. Anthony from Big Brain Chungus, thank you so much for joining us today and being our guest on this weird program.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me on. I tried to figure out how to fit in the group. Hopefully it works. We'll see.
You fit in. People now know you exist, which, listen, you were nobody before you came up here. And now you're on your way to becoming somebody.
On your way.
Oh man, thank you. I feel like you're I'm fucking Mr. Weinstein, and I'm like a young, beautiful actress. You've just cleaned my belly up, and you've got a whole career ahead in front of you. And thank you, Mr. Weinstein. I appreciate it.
You're
Anyways, guys, follow me before I get kicked out. Guys, follow me on Twitter at Real Big Brain. We have a podcast with two of my friends, and we're very lefty, and we talk about stuff too. And we do hot takes.
All right. We love it. That's what we do here.
So follow us at NSF Wonks on Twitter. We're always doing stuff over there. Go to patreon.com/notsafe. There's tons of cool stuff there for the patrons. And we'll be back with a stream tomorrow. And also, we'll have a podcast episode tomorrow. So get hype.
Get hype.
Ho, ho, ho.
Right. This is my hype face.